We're all set? All right. Well, thank you everybody for those attending here and those who are listening online or watching this later. My name is Kara Lustig. I'm the Director of Public Works. I've been in my position currently for about 2 years, and I've been with the town for over 15 years. We're having this forum today to try to provide the public with some information about what the Public Works Department provides, and also to provide an opportunity for residents to be able to ask questions about the services that they receive and the work that we do. I have with me my entire leadership team for the Public Works Department. And as you'll hear today, it's a pretty complex group of individuals that we have that manage all the different services that we provide for the town. So the general mission of the Department of Public Works is to make a community that's health, safe, and enjoyable. And we do that by working on the built environment. We prioritize our work where we prioritize safety items first, infrastructure preservation items second, and then also items that make Needham a more desirable place to live and work. This public forum is part of our communications campaign to try to make the residents of the town, businesses of the town, more aware of the work that we do. We've had a lot of feedback over the past few years that individuals are desperate for more information about what's happening in their communities, having the ability to have input in the work that's happening in the community. And so we're hoping that this forum, as well as some other initiatives we have, will help provide that opportunity. We've been trying to provide more information to residents through our newsletter program. We have had neighborhood meetings for various projects to get input as we're in the final phases of construction. We've been providing select board updates on our projects, and we've been working on more targeted project meetings as we develop new projects. We also have worked with the select board in order to create 2 new committees that will help provide guidance and information about our infrastructure improvements within the community as we start working our way from main roads, school walking routes, and school routes, and we start making our way into neighborhoods for things like sidewalk improvements, as well as talking about issues such as bike enhancements, handicap accessibility, and speeds. This is all part of an effort to try to educate the public about the work that we do, and we certainly look for feedback on better ways that we can communicate, both in emergencies and then also just on everyday construction projects. Additionally, we're working on a succession planning initiative. The construction industry has certainly experienced an increase in vacancies over the past few years. We have in public works on the government side, I think seen that even more so as jobs are available and the construction industry is still doing well in this region. We're working and have been working for the past several years on a succession planning initiative within the Public Works Department, which is working with our incoming employees at the earliest entry level and trying to grow them so that they can take on jobs that require significant responsibilities as well as specialty licenses that we can't easily find within the industry. In the past few years, when we've had vacancies, we've been doing, most of our positions have been filled by internal applicants, and you'll see that here. We have a few individuals who've recently been promoted into their positions. We're working on creating an environment where we believe we're an employer of choice, where people will come and work for us and be interested in working here because of the type of training and mentorship that we can provide employees, and hopefully then retaining some of the stronger employees to stay and work and need them for the long term. And lastly, we're working on an asset management tool that will sort of bring our infrastructure into the 21st century by capturing all of our work orders, and infrastructure in an online database. It will help us communicate better with residents. Right now, we use the See, Click, Fix module in order to communicate when there are problems or issues. Right now, that's not tied to physical infrastructure or any of our information. And so this new system that we have will actually tie work order requests, problems in the community directly to our infrastructure, as well as help us better manage our workload and provide more efficient services to the residents. So underneath my umbrella, we have 4 areas of operation. We have our operations division, which encompasses the majority of the individuals up here, and they're the ones who do the day-to-day work in the community. We have the building maintenance division, which maintains all of the buildings in town, including the school buildings. We have the engineering division, which is responsible for the design and execution of large construction projects, as well as all of the data that we collect in Public Works. And we have an administrative division that is responsible for our budget, human resources, and purchasing. So with that, I'm going to bring in the next division to provide you an update. And then when we're done with our presentation, we'll be open for question and answer. I imagine this is going to be mostly question and answer, and I'm hoping that people have questions that we can provide information on.
Hello, good evening. I'm Edward Olson. I'm Superintendent of Parks and Forestry and the Town Tree Warden. I appreciate everyone's interest tonight and your opportunity to come and talk to us tonight, so thank you. Parks and Forestry Division, I'm one of 16. I've been here for 12 years. We're basically two different types of operation. And our goal, our mission is to improve the front yard of Needham by improving the quality of life through creating and improving, maintaining safe, accessible, aesthetically pleasing outdoor spaces. Like I said, we're two different we're one division, but two different operations. We have our parks operation, which we do a myriad of different things, including take care of our playing fields. And then we have our forestry operation, which takes care of our town trees, as well as has a town tree planting program. Some of the highlights that I wanted to mention tonight that we're looking forward to for 2023. One of the big highlights, our biggest highlight, is opening the town common. We've been working on that project for about 10 years now, and pleased to say that we'll be opening the town common to all residents this spring. The second highlight I'd like to mention tonight is our annual Arbor Day celebrations. Every year we celebrate with school children in the town. It's our tradition that we've had for many decades, and we speak with second graders about the importance of tree planting and the preservation of trees, as well as perform tree plantings at schools. Last year, we celebrated at the Broadmeadow School, and we had our state representative, Denise Garlick, join us. This year, we'll be celebrating at the Newman School, as well as having some town celebrations at parks around town, more to come. Our last highlight is talking about McLeod Field. I've been fortunate in the 12 years that I've been here to be involved with over a dozen major capital field projects, including but not limited to the town common, the Newman Plain School fields, the Reservoir Trail at Public Works, Greensfield, Walker Gordon, Pollard Playing School fields, and the list goes on. This year, we've been working on designing and engineering improvements to the McLeod Field. McLeod is its 90-foot baseball diamond located at DeFazio Field, and we have a design in the works to actually convert that from a 90-foot baseball field to our varsity girls softball field. As mentioned, I am the superintendent of Parks and Forestry. I'm one of 16. I have an assistant superintendent, Kevin Naughton. Kevin grew up in town, as many as my employees did. Many of my employees grew up in town, no longer live in town, but have a vested interest in town. And I'm very fortunate to have so many longstanding employees like Kevin. When I break down our division, we have about 10 parks employees and 4 forestry employees. Thank you. I look forward to some of your questions tonight.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Demaray. I am the superintendent of the Recycling and Solid Waste Division. I've been in the town job for about 8 years, and I've been in my current role as superintendent for about 4 months, a little over 4 months. I grew up in town, really proud to serve as a member of the Public Works Department. Really love my job up at the Recycle and Transfer Station, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. So we're a division of 8 union staff and 2 management. We not only run the recycle and transfer station, but we do collections at municipal buildings and schools. We're also responsible for collecting the trash barrels at the parks and at the streetscape here in downtown, up at the Heights along Great Plain Ave. So a lot of you guys probably know what we do because you see us up at the transfer station or you see the trucks out collecting. But we have a lot of questions come our way. And so my goals for 2023 include updates to our website. We get a lot of inquiries. Some people want to do a really deep dive into the sort of materials we're handling and also where it goes. So we're going to do a couple of things. One, we're going to enhance usability for the residents. And we're also going to provide, they call it a recycling wizard, is a common term for how to put in any material that you're thinking of and see if you can get some good information on whether it's just trash or whether it's whether there's an opportunity to recycle it. We try and offer recycling for any material that we come across, but it's not always possible. That'll be in our new website redesign. We're happy that we have some grant money that we can use to fund that, so we don't need to get additional funding to update that website. So we're hoping that's going to happen relatively quickly. The town is also putting out a service delivery study for trash and recycling services throughout town. And that's just, we want to make sure that we're doing things efficiently. We want to make sure we're offering the services that residents are looking for. We also want to make sure that we're agile and that we're prepared for any future regional problems and challenges. There's a lot of capacity issues facing New England coming down the next 10 years. And in order to be ahead of these challenges, we have to, really be proactive and be ready to be agile. That's my term. And then lastly, we're doing a lot with food waste at the schools. Food waste diversion is an important way to lower your municipal trash tonnages. Food is, it tends to be wet and it tends to have value to produce methane. So what we're doing is we're sending our food waste to an anaerobic digester, and they're producing methane, which powers a turbine, generates electricity. We have a drop-off program up at the RTS already, and we've been working with the Sunita Williams Broadmeadow schools, and we've expanded it recently to the high school and to the Pollard Kitchen. We expanded to the high school students, and so far that's been going pretty well. We have some concerns about how the students will adapt to it at the Pollard. So we're focusing right now on expanding the elementary school program. We're working at the Mitchell. We're going to be working at High Rock, Newman, and the Elliott. And we have a few infrastructure loading dock issues that may present some challenges, but we think that those programs at those elementary schools are going to roll out pretty well. And it's nice because it's a cross-divisional work that's happening. It's not only the RTS division, but it's nutrition services and building maintenance staff. And when we work together and have a successful program, that's what we're really looking to do here in town. Again, my name is Matthew Demaray. I welcome any questions either tonight or we're up at the transfer station Tuesday to Saturday, 7:30 to 4. Come find us. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. My name is Mike Retzky. I'm with the Water, Sewer, and Drain Division. So basically, we're responsible for producing, supplying safe, clean drinking water for the town of Needham. That's to about 10,900 homes and businesses in town. We maintain and operate all associated systems for our water supply. We provide approximately 2.5 million gallons per day from our water well pumps and water treatment facility. During the warmer months, starting in about late April through October, that volume increases. We use our supplemental MWRA water supply, which is at St. Mary's Pump Station. And at that time, our demand increases from about 2.5 million gallons a day to almost 6 million to 6.5 million gallons a day, mostly for irrigation systems for properties. So with that, we also have a sewer division. Our sewer division maintains and cleans all the mainline sewers in the streets. We monitor that on a regular basis. Needham also performs, Needham does not perform any wastewater treatment. That all goes to the MWRA system, which is in Boston. So we have about 14 to 18 connections to the MWRA system, and that's where all that sewer goes. As for stormwater, our stormwater drain system within our town includes our brooks and culverts. So we also maintain that by our division. Staff performs catch basin cleaning on a regular basis. We also do cleaning and CCTV work of the mainline drains and culverts, and we also have outside contracts that we use to clean our culverts when we have problem culvert areas that may get blocked up and need immediate attention. If we experience water leaks, water breaks, sewer mainline backups, or drainage issues in the street or culvert areas, our staff responds to all those. So we're usually first on site. For our highlights for 2023, we'll continue to perform all necessary water, sewer, drain repairs and upgrades as needed. This includes emergency work. We'll have water breaks, so we come in and get those fixed up. The picture here on the screen showing one that happened on a Sunday just a couple of weeks ago. We had to come into Greendale Ave and fix a leak that was discovered late on a Saturday night. So our staff mobilized in early Sunday and got that squared away. We're also doing water service replacements around town where known lead line services exist. They've been doing that for a number of years, and we continue that. That'll happen again this construction season starting in April. Water main upgrades are planned for various streets that our staff will perform. They're usually not large linear footage. We usually do up to about 1,000 linear feet when it presents itself. So we'll be doing Elizabeth Circle this year. We'll be upgrading a 2-inch existing old steel main and putting in a 6-inch water main, and also adding some fire protection in that area too. We work closely with our engineering department to perform infrastructure improvements. Right now, we're working with them on the Lake Drive pump station that's coming forth. And there's a 16-inch water main replacement on Rosemary Street that's going to be moving ahead shortly also. So, one of the other highlights that we're working to address is our workforce. As Karis mentioned earlier, it's been a challenge in these current economic times to locate and find personnel, specialized personnel for what we do. We do a lot of in-house training, and we're also sending our personnel out to get licenses. We have specialized licenses we need to be able to run the distribution system, to be able to run our water treatment, to be able to do backflow prevention and testing. So we're looking at our staff that wants to move up, move ahead, and we're training them right now to help us with this. And we also use outside resources when necessary. So we're currently trying, as I talked about, the third thing is our public relations, our basic communication. We want to try to improve that. Tonight was one night that we have the opportunity to do that. So we're looking to be able to do this in more of a proactive method. So we'll do more to upgrade and update our website for information. One thing I do want to mention that we have staff on site between 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. After normal business hours, we have an on-call staff available. They're not sitting here. They're at home. They get called when there's an emergency. So when people go on, some people have used the see-click fix, which is great when it can be seen, which is normally when people are in the office. When they're not in the office, we usually don't see Click Fix that quickly. So we ask that if you have an emergency after normal business hours, please call the police department business line and notify them. They have our on-call staff numbers, and they'll call us immediately and get somebody out as soon as they can to take care of any issues or concerns you have. So that's basically what I have for you. If you have any questions, happy to answer those afterwards. Just to let you know, we are a staff of 26. I am one of the 26 people that are involved as the superintendent. And we have staff that are at the water treatment facility every day, testing our water supply and doing all the facets down there that need to take care of our water. That's probably one of the most important factors here. So thank you for your time tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for coming, everyone. It's a gorgeous space. I'm glad you're all here and it's not 0 degrees outside. We were hoping for people to come and interact with us tonight, and I'm glad you're here. My name is Rain Hoyland. I came to Needham in 1993 from vertical construction and kind of learned on the job. Was lucky to be mentored by a lot of good people, and I stayed in this type of business and really enjoyed it. Coming to the end of the career, and it's been terrific working with everybody here. And we're trying to pass on a lot of standard operating procedures, policies, and knowledge that a lot of us have and learned over the years, and pass that into a formal continuous network for newer people taking our spots. In the highway division, we do all things surface. We maintain everything surface, including curbing, roads, surface drainage, all the traffic signals, pavement markings, signs, everything that we see. So we operate in a highly visible world. The newer, in the past 10 years, has been to focus on, in the past it was to focus on vehicles and how fast we can get them through town. The real focus is more all-inclusive. So we look at vehicles, how to keep them on the main roads by using better technology in our traffic signals to process vehicles at a slower rate but fast, and also include pedestrian safety. Pedestrian safety is probably from the highway superintendent's position, my #1 priority, and with bicycles, so that our goal is to have more all-inclusive quality of life in town. Multimodal, that's all that means, is that we balance not just traffic, but people, how people walk, flow, shop, and go to school, and businesses, including maybe wider sidewalks. One of the highlights that we're doing currently is to look at, there's a lot of funding, so federal and state funding. We've received some at Dedham Ave and Harris Ave, that after there was a tragedy in, I think, 2018 in Needham that we all felt, we really looked at how people are crossing our streets, especially higher volume streets. How do we geometrically slow down traffic, better protect and serve pedestrians and bicyclists? It sounds simple, but that's our primary goal, is to try to find that balance. In doing so, we found there's also grants and other funds that the state and the federal government has pushed out that we're pursuing, that we've received. And so we've also done a lot of improvements towards the Pollard School down Harris Avenue to better protect those crossings for the students. And we'll do that townwide. That's in our plan. Off the slide is to incorporate streets, complete streets, shared streets, is all of what I'm talking about. It's that simple, that we've gone from vehicles processing to people, and that's probably my primary goal. The next step will be to look at with the new committee being formed is how we go about handling the backlog of sidewalk. Some of you are scattered through town. I'm hoping we get more of those questions and what are we doing to look at the sidewalk infrastructure. I think the roads in the past 20 years, we've gone from what's called a failure state to pretty much where we should be, which is at 80% based on engineering standards. So the next big focus will be on how do we handle the sidewalks, and the new committee will help develop those policies and help interface with the community of what it wants to do to set those straight. We have 13 people now in the highway. We have 2 managers, 10 maintenance and public works staff, and only 1 traffic. Does all the traffic signals, the striping, and signs in town. We hope to maybe add a couple of staff in the future. It's been very difficult in our environment and work environment right now in economic is to get contractors at a reasonable price. The prices are skyrocketing. It's even hard to get them into a contract. It's very competitive. So we're trying to find the balance in the future if that continues between staff and outsourcing. And that's probably our biggest challenge. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. Thank you. Tom Ryder, town engineer. And I'd like to repeat pretty much what Ryan just said, that, fantastic mentors here at DPW that I've had, and working with people that you see at the table here as well. I've been here for 15 years. I started as a role as town engineer last March. We have 11 staff, which consists mainly of civil engineers, drafters, construction inspectors, and project managers. Essentially what we do is work with the other operations divisions and improving the infrastructure in town through design and inspectional services. We have a few highlights for this coming year that I'd like to mention. The first one here for 2023 is the Lake Drive Pump Station replacement. Lake Drive is located off of May Street, and this canister pump station was part of our master plan to upgrade. It's about 50 years old or so, and there's some repairs that are required more and more. So we're upgrading this pump station. It serves about 40 residents, 20,000 gallons a day or so. And we expect that the construction is going to start this March if weather cooperates. Ty and Bond is the engineer that we're working with for this, and Alessandro is going to be the contractor of record. The second project for this coming year is the drain that actually leads from Concord at Burnside and will discharge off of Cheney Street, which is near Greendale Ave. This is going to be the third phase of this project that starts at Cheney Street and goes all the way up to Concord at Burnside. If anyone has seen past photos of this area, used to flood quite a bit. It has been there's been a lot of relief of the drainage since we've already completed 2 phases as of 2018. But there used to be photos of residents in canoes at the intersection, which is not good. So this will be the third phase out of 4 to upgrade this drainage. So the phase that we're looking at right now will start at Greendale from Parker, and it will end up at Bennington. And then the following phase, which will be in a future phase, which will take it from Bennington all the way to the Concord at Burnside to complete the project. Last project highlight is Rosemary 16-inch water main replacement. Currently, the 16-inch water main runs under the lake between Hillside and Tilts. And so we are putting out to bid specifications this spring for about 1,000 feet. We're going to remove 1,000 feet of 16-inch water main and put it into Rosemary Street. And that will assist with our maintenance and any other issues that may arise from water mains being underneath lakes. All right, appreciate any questions. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Shane Mark. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works. So what we want to do now is, now that you've heard from each one of our division heads, first I want to recognize two division heads you haven't heard from this evening, and that's Cecilia. She's sitting far to the right. She's the one that keeps us all on the straight and narrow. She's our business manager. She's over admin and finance. And then Barry DeLong sitting in between Mike and Ed. He's our building maintenance director, and he keeps everything operational in all of our public buildings. So I'd be very remiss if I did not mention them tonight. They work very hard to keep all of our public buildings nice and warm and toasty and functioning properly for us and keeping us on the straight and narrow with our finances. So what we want to do now is open it up to the public. So what do you want to know about DPW? We have tonight some people online, I believe, that can ask some questions. If anyone online asks some questions, Cecilia will filter those to us, and then we can just take your questions. So what we'd ask you to do is, if you have any questions, you can come to the mic, ask your question. We'll do our best to answer you. If not, we have some questions that can prompt some discussion as well. Are there any immediate questions? No immediate questions yet, so that's fine. Actually, do we have one? If you can step up to the mic here, sir, thank you.
It says on. Okay. Hi, I'm Dave Sherman. I live at 100 Rosemary. Question probably, I think, for Mr. Retzky. I'm quaking in my boots a little bit about this idea that there's going to be a water main replacement on Rosemary Way, considering what I saw happening for the water main replacement that was happening on Central Avenue. That from the surface looked like an absolute disaster. It has still not been cleaned up. It actually was a setup for, there was actually a vulnerability to terrorism from that water main that I communicated to the police department. Police department told me they couldn't handle all of the safety threats that were created by that water main replacement while it was in progress. Now that it's done, it's still a mess. So, I mean, I think Rivoli really, the contracting company really messed up on this. And my question is, what's going to happen that's going to be better on Rosemary Way?
So actually, I think Tom and Mike could both probably handle this question. You can use the mic there.
Tom Ryder, town engineer. Yeah, so this project is going out to bid. It's about 1,000 feet of 16-inch water main. So I'm not sure of the of your question regarding vulnerability. We will have our inspectors out there. The contractor who has not been selected yet, that will be out through the bid process. We will continue to maintain and observe, report and record any issues that may arise. But again, this is a ductile iron water main that's under significant pressure. So it is it's not very easy to operate unless you have the proper equipment, which so you'll see there's going to be large excavation equipment to dig the trenches and install and compact. As far as the Central Ave water main, so that project still is near completion. It's not substantially complete yet. There is some paving, final paving to do, curb to curb, which will occur this spring, summer. So hopefully that will answer your question. I guess if you have other questions, you can reach back out to me as well. Do you have any further?
No, I don't have anything further at this time. So, thank you.
So one thing, Mr. Sherman, I could tell you that we're looking at doing is, quite frankly, we could do a better job at housekeeping with our projects. And what I mean by that is making sure that we're holding our contractors and ourselves accountable with keeping the area tidy and clean and access for pedestrians, those sort of things. We've had lots of conversations over the last few months on that, moving into this construction season. So that's one thing we're definitely going to be focusing on, is making sure that we're having some good housekeeping, good messaging with message boards in the right of way, providing access to pedestrians and cyclists the best we can throughout the construction zone. So that's definitely something that we all have recognized that we can work on, and we aim to do that this coming construction season. Any other questions? All right, so a couple questions I jotted down. Ed, I know this comes up a lot, especially we're in a winter where we haven't seen a lot of snow. We've only seen 12 inches of snow here at this point when we're normally at 30 plus inches. So our baseball fields and all of our fields in our parks are closed. I know we've gotten a lot of questions on why those fields are closed throughout the winter, especially in a winter where it's tepid and we have plenty of recreational opportunities. So could you speak to why we close these fields during the winter? Absolutely. Thank you, Shane, for that question. Much like a golf course, I mean, most golf courses close in New England. We have a season, a growing year, and anything that happens now is a detriment to the turf. You're not going to recover from that. So, we'll often see trainers on the field this time of year setting up some training activities, and we'll have to ask them to move on because the fields are closed. And there's a reason for that. If we damage the fields now, it can set us up for a tough season. As mentioned, the grass is dormant. This is New England. Actually, honestly, we open the fields a little early in New England. Our high school athletes start in March. Softball, baseball, other sports. Some years we have snow on the ground still, but April 1st is typically what we try to open up all our outdoor fields for, all our permit holders. But honestly, we don't start cutting grass probably for another month. It might be May, early May, it might be mid-May. So again, early wear and tear does damage fields. So we try to stay on top of that with aggressive field maintenance programs. But we often get that question. So thank you, Shane, for that. And a follow-up question on that, I know you get quite a bit because I've been asked this since I've been here, is why can't we take our dogs onto the fields? Yeah, that's a good question. I know that the select board is talking with the town management about dogs and off-leash dog areas. Quite frankly, our playing fields are for our children. So again, dogs are allowed. At most playing fields, they're not allowed at all. At Memorial Park, at the Fazio Field, prohibited. But dogs are on leash in this town. That's the law. So we do have an off-leash dog park. It's at the Nike site. We built that for the community. But we do hear the concern that people want more options, and that will be under board consideration this year. Thank you. All right, look into the audience if they may have any questions. All right. Rain, I know a big question that you get asked quite frequently, and I know that Karis and I do as well. We get several emails on this, or when we're speaking to the public, quite often we get asked on why we're doing these different types of treatments on our roadways. Why does one roadway get milled and filled? Why does another roadway get chip sealed? Could you speak to the fact on why we make the decisions and do those different types of treatments?
Absolutely. Can you hear me? How's that? Many years ago, when we looked at the network of the town, it was pretty devastated, say 20 years ago. So we developed a plan. We did a lot of cores. We looked at how thick the existing pavements were on almost every road in town, what the base was, and what the surface and the edge of the road, curbing, no curbing, shoulders. Did a lot of work. It took a few years and developed a plan. Basically, the town back in the 80s with Prop 2.5 really stopped paving, and all they did as a highway maintenance treatment for 20, 25 years was called a chip seal. That is non-structural, it doesn't shape. Most people don't like it, it's a little annoying, but it was meant to be a maintenance treatment, short-term, or an alternate treatment. So with the roads being at, I think the index, it's just a rating up to 100. We were in at the 50, 58 range, which is failing. We developed a capital plan that got approved. So we did all the main roads first, which were mill, pave, add structure, shape, curbing. Went after the hills that had a lot of erosion problems with asphalt paving, with Cape Cod, it's a little wedge to stabilize the shoulders. Added shape and structure to the roadways and the residential neighborhoods. That's a 20-year plan. So that started about 20 years ago. We still have a couple years to go. In keeping with the budget, once we structure a road, a neighborhood street, we use a maintenance surface treatment. It's either called the micro pave. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick. It looks like asphalt pavement, but it's brittle. So you have to have a good base. Otherwise it fractures and falls apart. The best product is a chip seal, but it's called a rubber chip seal. That's very annoying to most residents. We have to keep sweeping it. It's 20% crumb rubber. It's a recycled product, very flexible. The equipment seals the pavement with this rubber material that stops the deterioration, protects the asphalt structure and shape, and provides a wearing course. The only real negative, we can get 20 years out of that product. If you Google it, some say 10 or 12. We have the documents that show we can get 15 to 20 years out of the product, which is the life of asphalt at 1/3 the cost. So we try to asphalt pave, structure, shape it, add stable shoulders, and then go to a surface treatment at 1/3 the cost. The next time, then we'll alternate. The plan is to alternate back and forth between in the neighborhood streets of paving, surface treatment, paving, surface treatment. And what that will do is keep the network at this high rate of about 80% for the dollar values that we're given. Otherwise, we'd need about $1 million more a year, which is a significant increase, and it works. So that's how we made the decision. It was also financial.
So Rain, by doing this, what we're really doing is prolonging the life of a street, preventative maintenance, just like we would on our cars, in other words.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, so the asphalt pavement will get 15, 20 years maximum in a residential. Same with the rubber treatment. And at 1/3 the cost by sealing and protecting the pavement from the sun and deterioration from the surface and providing the wearing course. It's a maintenance. It's like instead of stripping the siding off your house, you fix the deterioration and then repaint it until you have to restrip it. A lot of towns do the paving and then they'll keep surface treatment. It's a diminishing return. But after 40 years, all the Cape Cod berm and the shoulders need to be reestablished, and it's much more economical. And so that's why at DDOM, I'm promoting that we do the alternate. So we just don't keep chipping like we did in the old days, but keep the structure balanced. So pave, maintenance, pave, maintenance is our basic plan.
So Rain, observing the roads here and talking about our roads program with how we do the different treatments, I know one big focus that's starting to come up, and I've been here now just going on 3 months, is the condition of our sidewalks. And so my next question is going to be more for you and for our Public Works Director, Karis, is could you speak to our sidewalks and what our plan is for addressing those sidewalks? And Karis, earlier Rain talked about these different transportation committees. Could you maybe talk to those transportation committees a little bit more with the subcommittees?
Sure. So right now we have several transportation committees in Needham, some of which have very clear focuses and some of which have not met for a period of time because they didn't necessarily have a mission that sort of aligned with what you would expect of a community like this in this day and age. So we have worked with the select board and they've actually rechartered several of these committees. So we really have more focused committees related to our transportation infrastructure. What this has done is we have our traffic management advisory committee currently, and we're actually expanding the role of that particular committee, as well as trying to provide more services without having to go to committee. So right now, if you have a problem in your street, you would apply online in order to create a petition to be seen in front of our TMAC, and they would evaluate your case and make a recommendation to myself and then the select board as to whether or not we needed to make some sort of physical or regulatory change. What we're changing in that is that instead of having to go directly to a committee, if there's some item that is addressed that makes sense to us as officials and meets guidelines that are established for providing change. So for example, you have a side road off a main road that doesn't have a stop sign, and we look at it and it meets all the warrants of having a stop sign. We would no longer need to go to a committee. We could make that change in-house. The committee will still be there to appeal our decision. So if we decide that there shouldn't be a stop sign there, the individual could still be heard in front of the committee, but it helps to address things that we think are obvious and without having to have it take up the committee's time, and then still have the committee there as for the ability for people to appeal if they have concerns about our decision. It will also take up issues, I think, that are a little broader, including helping us form our capital plans and helping us communicate to the public in a much broader sense about what our mission is and what kind of resources we can provide. We've created a new committee, which is a mobility committee that's going to be focusing on policy and process. So we have had a policy in town of focusing our sidewalk work on the business districts and school walking routes that we established with the school committee. And we're getting to the end of that life cycle and that we've made improvements on those walking routes. And now it's time to get into neighborhood sidewalks. So you will probably notice if you walk around neighborhood sidewalks in most of Needham that they were built 20 or more years ago, and they're beyond their useful life, and they are starting to not perform as well as they don't meet current standards for sidewalks. And it's not a simple process for us to bring those sidewalks up to current standards. In fact, every time we do it, we have to meet ADA accessibility, which deals with the width of the road, the pitch, the inclines and ramps. And those improvements are very necessary and important, but they are also costly. So I think we get a lot of calls from individuals thinking that if we just replace a sidewalk, we can just tear out the asphalt and put new asphalt in, and it's more complicated than that for a good reason. So we're looking for this committee to help provide direction on how to prioritize various road treatments, but also our sidewalks, create some policies in place. We've talked in town about the amount of sidewalk we have being beyond our capacity to maintain. So we've talked about the concept of strategic sidewalk removals. So do you take very quiet side roads or cul-de-sacs and remove sidewalk on one half of the road, returning that to a natural vegetated state so you get better drainage, and then you build an ADA accessible sidewalk on the other side of the road with crosswalks, creating a network for people to be able to get around the town, but not necessarily having a sidewalk in every road. Oftentimes on these sidewalks, you have pinch points. So we have issues like trees, poles, fences, items that we need to address in order to remedy the sidewalk not meeting the town's requirements. And these things can be intensive. So looking at community or neighborhoods that might be willing to give up one side of the sidewalk in order to get a sidewalk that meets the needs of their community would be an item we would be looking at to get guidance on from this committee. So really it's two committees that will work together in order to help us provide with citizen feedback what our priorities should be for our roadway infrastructure, as well as the town voted or approved a complete streets policy 4 or 5 years ago, and helping us implement that policy. So determining where we should have bike lanes, determining where we should have sidewalks, what type of traffic calming measures should be in place, what types of speeds should we be looking at. So really having a forum to have that conversation. We have it internally all the time, but being able to have that conversation with residents and get feedback. Do you want to talk to the greater sidewalk issue?
I think Karis articulated what we're doing and where we're going perfectly. All I could add is that the town of Needham has a very active sidewalk program. Most people don't believe that, but when we look out to other towns, and I grew up next door in Wellesley and talked to all the surrounding communities, we actually have a very solid sidewalk program. The challenge was that a few decades ago, there was no funds being spent on sidewalks. They were previously built, trees grew, and they're dilapidated. When we looked at the sidewalk inventory, we hired a consultant in 2018. We got the results that we expected, that over half the residential, the town's network of sidewalk was dilapidated, didn't meet architectural access board or handicap requirements. That backlog, based on how much sidewalk we reconstruct today to current standards, is decades of a backlog. So you're looking at, if we keep practicing and keep all that inventory, it would be about 40 to 50 years till we catch up. Then all the other sidewalk would be dilapidated, so we would never catch up. So we're looking at policies and strategies, as Karis mentioned, maybe on low volume streets, if there's sidewalk on both sides, remove it and focus on one side to reduce the inventory and the town's future liability and cost, and then provide access. So we're looking at various strategies, but that's how long the backlog is. But we can shorten that with good planning and good public support and interest.
So Karis, if someone wants to be a member on one of these committees, what should they do?
So you should go to the select board's section of the Needham website, and there's information about how to submit your name in for committees. I believe we're in the early phases of staffing these committees out, but I know that it will help us meet the select board's goals of providing a community in which people can move freely and easily throughout the community in the method in which they feel is they're most comfortable with.
I believe I saw we had a possible question in the audience. Just come right on to the mic, sir.
Kuzo, I live on Castano Court, a chip sealed street. Thank you very much. Is inspectional services part of DPW or separate?
It depends,
Oh,
which is
okay.
always the complicated answer. So we don't have the building inspectional services, but we do for roads, water, and sewer.
Oh, okay. All right. So I was going to comment about, I think inspectional services in the town is greatly improved in my time in Needham. I've been here since '91. And the scheduling and the friendliness and the timely arrival and just the way you get treated on a little job or a big job has been a nice change. And Matt at the dump, the transfer station, a lot of innovation there and customer service. I do the tree pickup with Carter Church, and he won't give me a key so I can open the chain if we're late on the dump closing, but very helpful. Working with me when they were moving Jersey barriers and we were nervous a couple of years ago. But overall, inspectional services and Matt at the transfer station, very helpful, very friendly, and things are improving in that area from my homeowner point of view. I do have a question for whoever's in highway safety. They put a bike lane on Highland. And I've heard from a lot of people that at night, because it's a white sidewalk, a black strip, a little ramp, it's dark and it juts in, people put two wheels up into the bike lane before they realize, oh, this isn't the street. And is there any plan? I know it might be state genius, but is there any plan to put some reflectors, or even if it had been painted white, just some strip or orange or something? Because, you know, people are going to either wreck their cars or hit somebody. It's very deceptive, that change.
That's a great question.
right,
Actually,
thanks.
Tom Tom and I just spoke about this today. Tom's our town engineer, and very shortly, Tom's setting up a meeting with the state traffic engineers right here in Needham for DPW to sit down with the state traffic engineers and talk to them about some of the concerns that we have with that project, especially that a lot of people don't realize that that's a state roadway. But once that's finished, they'll turn that back over to us, and then we will maintain it as a DPW and as a town. So we do have some concerns out there. Tom's going to work with the town, with the state engineers with that, as well as getting some guidance at the state level on what kind of treatments we can do on certain roadways when it comes to bike lanes or signalized with pedestrian signals, those sorts of treatments. Any other questions? Yes, come on up to the mic. Thank you.
So first of all, in response to, I appreciate the response to my issue about the water mains, and I'll look forward to what got broke getting made fixed, and hopefully we don't have that problem again on Rosemary Way or on future water main projects. While we're looking at Highland Avenue, you may want to look at the fact that we lost the weight sensor on Highland Avenue by Gould Street. And so at 5:20 in the morning, when I'm going through that light, if I miss that light, I sit there for 2 minutes while nothing moves. So, you know, everybody else is concerned about climate change, and I'm sitting there idling. Speaking of idling, that is a big problem for DPW, because it can happen sometimes every other week that I walk by and I see a DPW vehicle that's parked and not doing anything. You know, it's not actually working on a job or anything like that, not using the power to, you know, generate to power a chainsaw or anything, and the engine's running. And, you know, what does that do? So let's see, it wastes the town's money for gas. It creates more pollution, creates more climate change. Like I say, I think everybody else in the world is concerned about climate change. What will DPW do to stop this disastrous policy?
Thank you for your question. We appreciate that. We appreciate the observation. We see this quite often ourselves. It's something that we can get better at, and we strive to improve. Some of the things we're doing, other than just constant reminders to our staff about idling, is we're looking at it from a fleet perspective, adding the automatic engine shut-offs onto the vehicles, so that if a vehicle is idling, it'll shut it off automatically to help out with that. Currently, most of our vehicles, the strobes on those vehicles only work if the engines are on. They don't work if the engines are off. So if you see the strobes running, the engine has to be running. If you shut the vehicle off, the strobes won't work. So we're looking at different technologies there as well. It's hard to maintain, to be honest with you. It's just constant reinforcement on our side of the house, of reminding each other and our staff not to idle our vehicles. In the winter months, this winter's been a very tepid winter. We haven't had a lot of cold weather, other than what we all experienced Saturday. When I walked the dogs, it was -8 degrees at 7 o'clock in the morning. But most of our winter have been very balmy winter so far. So we have to remind our staff that we can't allow those vehicles to idle even during those break times. So it's just really, quite honestly, it's enforcement with us at a division head level, all the way through our working foreman and our working for persons to manage this. Yeah, of course, the discipline, we could go the discipline route. We like to have conversations first with employees and not jump straight to the discipline. Oftentimes it's just a reminder to that employee, hey, your vehicle's idling. We do have a idling policy, anti-idle policy. And by the way, it's a state law as well. Having those conversations. And then if they are repeat offenders, pulling them in and having those conversations. But we definitely don't want to just jump straight to discipline and have it be a fear factor when it comes to that.
I would just add or build on that. Unfortunately, our fleet supervisor couldn't be here today. He had a prior engagement. But we are also working on trying to green our fleet. We are a green community, and we're working on purchasing more fuel efficient vehicles that will help when you have a hybrid engine and it switches into electric mode when you're when you have to idle to run things like strobes on the top of the vehicle. We've been increasing the biofuel content in our diesel and gas engines, working to do it slowly. So we're not transitioning too quickly from a traditional fossil fuel over to a biofuel and not shock the engine, but finding out a mix that works well with our operation, as well as we're looking into moving towards more fuel efficient vehicles as the market starts to shift with some of our equipment. So we anticipate moving forward, more and more of our equipment will be electric powered as opposed to gas powered.
Any other questions? Sir, if you could step up to the mic here. We are live on Needham TV this evening, so
I saw a presentation by the Chamber of Commerce.
can you speak a little closer to the mic, sir? Thank you.
I saw a presentation, the Needham Wellesley Chamber of Commerce, where there was an architect from Cambridge and talked about he's done stuff all over the country. And he talked about roads are normally 12 feet. And if you make them 10 feet and you eliminate the yellow line, that actually they're safer because people, 12 feet, I guess you're cruising and you can get the speed up. Is there any thought about implementing going to 10 feet and not doing the yellow line in the middle? Is that, yellow line's a little, but it's kind of, I thought it was interesting, so.
Sure. So I think what you're talking about is in the industry, there's a big shift. This is part of that complete strict traffic calming shared streets philosophies. So Needham, a lot of its lanes are 12 or greater. Those are too wide in our current thinking and opinion. So we're going to move even the arterial streets. So Highland Ave, Great Plain Ave, all the high speed, high traveled roads to 10 feet from 12. It's a federal standard that you could do so. So you can go down to 10. Without any engineering studies from 12. When we drive on 95, because we're in an urban area, those are only 12 feet wide on the highway. So to tighten those lanes it's a psychological effect on operators. So they feel tighter, especially if you have curbing, they tend to slow down. Removing the yellow line in the middle is also a psychological effect because people are uncomfortable and that gets them to slow down. It's kind of like when you're on a windy mountain road and not sure. I'm hesitant to go with remove the center line in case there's a head on. I don't know where the liability would be there. So it's okay to try to slow people down by tightening. I'm not sure about the yellow line. I don't have enough evidence, but that's a concept that's out there to get drivers to be uncomfortable so they slow down even more. But we are going to pull the lanes into 10. 10 or smaller. Yeah, so the edge lines will come in.
I think you'd be a great candidate for one of the committees, sir. Please come up and give your name and number and we'll put you on one. Jeff Speck's got some great ideas and he's got some really unique ideas when it comes to some traffic calming and things we can do. So like Kara said, on part of these committees, I know that we'll be talking deeply with those concepts as part of those committee assignments. Any other questions? Going once?
Any snow and ice questions?
Any snow and ice questions? I know snow and ice isn't on anyone's mind right now, which is good. We've had a nice mild winter. Knock on wood, it stays that way. One question does come up, especially this year. So Rain, you volunteered yourself to answer this question. Could you speak to the property owner's responsibility when it comes to snow and ice removal on their sidewalks?
Thank you. Sure. So in the business, there's bylaw. So businesses are to maintain the adjacent sidewalk along their business, even though the town owns that property. By that, they clear the snow. They need to treat it with materials for icing, and so walkers can get through. In the residence, there's no bylaw. for clearing the sidewalk. However, there are bylaws and restrictions on residents that take the snow off the sidewalk and place it in the street, especially after it's been plowed, or if they take that snow when we're all doing our driveways and push it into an area that the sidewalk's open. We do 54 miles with our equipment. Those are called school designated routes. And I think most people don't realize, or it's a contractor that, we all hire contractors, is to be very careful about that, because that's also inappropriate. We don't find people. We usually go out and just educate that, it's a critical walking for kids to school. But it is critical that people don't, residents, even though you're not required to, it's very helpful if you could clear the sidewalks. There's no bylaw for it, but please don't put it into the street or plug the sidewalk that we clear or others have cleared.
Going twice.
Shane, I wouldn't mind a couple inches of snow for the fields just to close them down for the next 6 weeks.
We have different philosophies on whether or not it should snow in this town or in the state. I'm a big advocate of, I don't want to see any snow at all. It makes my life and everybody else's life a lot easier, but I know we have a lot of outdoor enthusiasts who want to snowshoe and ski. So that's fine. You can have the snow, just keep it in the mountains and out west of the state where it belongs. One thing I'd like to remind everybody of tonight, and this is back in 2004, President Bush at the time signed into federal law that public works is considered a first responder. I want to recognize all the men and women that are here tonight that are part of public works, because we are first responders. And oftentimes when you see police and fire on a scene dealing with something, public works is going to be involved with that somehow, some way, some shape, or some form. We're the ones that end up closing off the streets, providing the barricades. We're the ones that oftentimes have to send our front end loaders to move debris out of the way or to help sift through fire investigations. So there's a lot of activities that police and fire do that are supported by the Public Works Department. What we like to say is oftentimes we're the first responders, we're the first ones there, and we're the last ones to leave. We had a gentleman who was in Natick, and he coined the phrase that public works is the silent arm of public safety. Oftentimes people don't think about a public works department and the things we do, because most of what public works does is under the ground and it's not visible except for the street signs or the condition of the roadways. So a lot of the work we do isn't that visible unless we're in snow and ice control. But we are first responders. We try to remind our staff of that at all times, that we are first responders and that we've got a big job to do, and we are the silent arm of public works. So I just wanted to remind everyone in the audience of that tonight. We just really appreciate your support. We appreciate you being here tonight, and we really appreciate the thoughtful statements and the thoughtful questions that you had. It means a lot to us. And as Kara said earlier, our goal this year and moving forward as a public works department is to get better at our communication and make sure that we're communicating often, we're communicating efficiently and effectively, so that it helps not only the residents of the town, but it also helps us become better at our jobs. Thank you very much for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. Have a great and safe rest of your week.